Hey guys, Geo here and it's time for a new video. Yes, this video is a guide and it's Dungeoneering, the basics and introduction. An introduction to Dungeoneering, giving you basic tips to Dungeoneer and the basic, walkthrough of Dungeoneering. Not to a big degree, just to a small degree, just to help you get started and teething on Dungeoneering. Now you have to stay tuned. At the end of the video I will provide you with a list of the different Dungeoneering guides that are coming out. So if you don't feel comfortable Dungeoneering just based on this guide, you may want to wait to Dungeoneer until I've released more of the guides where I'll go in detail on the armors, the weaponry, the puzzles, the bosses and much more. And then when those guides are complete, it will be Dungeoneering Advanced and teaching you how to get maximum XP for the higher levels. These guides will be released over the progress of the next couple of weeks, releasing all these Dungeoneering guides onto my channel while keeping you up with Geo's ramblings and the other videos I do. Anyway guys, moving on, let's talk about Dungeoneering, the basics. There are 3 ways to get to Demonheim, which is a place where you Dungeoneer. You can board the ship behind Alcarid Bank, you can teleport directly to Demonheim using the Ring of Kinship you will receive on the island, on the peninsula. Once you get here, you will be able to get that ring. You'll not be able to get it until you get here. Or you can walk here from the low-level wilderness on the eastern side of the wilderness, basically north of the Varrock Sawmill. You cannot take any other items into Demonheim other than the Ring of Kinship and the Orb of Oculus. This area of the Dungeoneering of Demonheim is basically the Dungeoneering lobby where people usually find teams. However, we are provided with barriers which will automatically assign us teams. The free-for-all barrier will assign us with any team which is appropriate. However, if we go around the barriers around the room, these will provide us with complexity 6 teams if it is unlocked. The Frozen barrier, which is the first set of floors, the Abandoned 1 barrier, which is the second set, Furnished the 3rd, Abandoned 2 the 4th, Occult the 5th, and Warped the 6th. These are all different types of floors. On Demonheim we are provided with a bank right next to where you are assigned to create teams. In order to enter a dungeon you'll need to be in a team. Even if you are solo, you'll need to create a party. If someone else is creating a party, for example one of your friends, they are able to right click on your name, right click on your character and click invite and invite you to the party, where the party leader will choose the complexity and the floor. As you can see, I'm the only person in this party and also the party leader. Here I can select the floor, the complexity, and whether I want guide mode or not. Of course, I am able to invite players by right clicking on their character and selecting invite. Let's quickly talk about the different options for the floors. Obviously I can invite players using these 2 buttons and I can leave the party. The floor option. Now this is quite basic. As you can see, there are not a second person, there is not a third person, a fourth or a fifth. So it's just me. So these floors will appear blank. However, if I have a second person in the party, I will see their floors and the floors they have completed on the second row. The little ticks on the floors mean I have completed that floor. For example, as we can see, floor 1, I have completed that floor. So ideally I would not want to repeat that floor, I would want to try and complete floor 2. In order to get the most XP is to complete all the floors you haven't already. So to receive ticks on the entire row down. Once you've received all the ticks on your row and you're at a standpoint where you can no longer unlock floors or your level isn't high enough to progress to the next floor, that is where we use the reset option. So the aim of this screen is to get the entire row of your floors ticked. For example, you may have only up to floor 10, which you are able to unlock. You have completed all 10 and you haven't yet unlocked floor 11 because your level isn't high enough. Because all your floors are ticked and you are not able to do a floor that is not ticked, it is basically time to click the reset button, which is available in the party interface. Basically, when you no longer have floors that are not completed and all your floors are ticked that you are able to do, you hit the reset button and then you do it again. You complete all the floors that you can, get them all ticked and reset again. And now let's quickly talk about complexity, which is the next option on the party interface. Basically we are offered 6 different types of complexities. When you first start Dungeoneering and you're doing what is called the Dungeoneering tutorial, you have to start from complexity 1 and progress to complexity 2, 3, 4, 5 and then 6. Complexity 6 is the ideal complexity when you're aiming to get a big chunk of XP from floors. On complexity 1, 2 and 3 you'll be provided with certain types of armor and weaponry in order to complete the floor faster and easier. However, you will receive XP penalties for all of the complexities other than complexity 6. As we can see, on complexity 5 we are receiving a 30% XP penalty, but on complexity 6 we are receiving a 0% XP penalty. Although as the complexity does get higher, the floors will get harder and more difficult to do, and you'll be presented with more skills you have to utilize in the floor to complete the dungeon, to create the necessary items and to go through the doors. Now the last option in this is the guide mode. This will basically show you what is called, I have forgot. It will show you the critical path, basically the path you need to follow to complete the dungeon, the path to the keys that you will need, and then to the boss. Now this you'll receive XP bounty for, so most people don't use it. When you're entering a floor, this is a solo floor I'll be entering. It is moderately simple. You select the floor you want to do, ideally one that isn't already ticked, and you will click confirm. You will select the complexity, work on completing all the complexities, and then get to 6. At lower levels, some people may say you should be rushing floors, but I think you should be using complexity 6 on all the floors you can, until you get to a level such as 60 where you're able to find teams on the official world, which is 117. However, things like that will be concentrated on the next video. This is basically getting you started, and when you first start Dungeoneering, the best way to do it is really solo. You'll be soloing your floors up to around level 50 until you can find a nice group of people. But for now, you'll be working with yourself when you're getting into dungeons, and it won't take long to level if you do it properly. Ideally, if it's just 1 to 2 people in a floor, you want to do a small floor. With 3 to 4 players, you're able to do a medium, and with 5 players, it is recommended you do a large. As you can see, I've actually started with some items. I've started with a plate body, a hood, and a weapon. Now, usually you will not start with these weapons, and you will not start with the hood. You will have no bound items when you first join a floor. You are able to bind 1 item at level 1, and you're also able to bind rune or ammunition. At level 50 you are able to bind 2 items, at level 100 3, and level 124. At level 1, when we're only able to bind 1 item, it would be best to bind a weapon. However, at level 50, when you're able to bind 2 items, there are a combination. You could either bind a weapon and a piece of armor, or a weapon and a shadow silk hood. Now, shadow silk hood is a vital part to dungeoneering in teams. However, that's not something we will be talking about in Dungeoneering the basics. It will be talked about in the next issue, Dungeoneering more advanced. When you enter the floor, you will be provided with tables here, which will have various supplies on, from armor to weaponry to ammunition to food. In this room, you will also see a summoning obelisk where you can create summoning creatures. There will be a runecrafting altar, a spinning wheel, and the portal to the group gatestone, which the leader of the party will have in his inventory. Basically, going through this portal will take you to the leader of the party, but since I have the group gatestone, it will just take me to me. And the ladders are obviously here so you can leave the dungeon. And then we have a furnace, which is lava, and we have the anvil. Then we have the water trough, where you'll be able to fill your vials in order to make potions. Clicking on the minimap above the multi-combat icon, on fixed, I believe it is just on the right of the minimap, we will see the Dungeoneering map. Now this is not very advanced, however it will show you where you are, and if you hover over the icons it will show you the player that this arrow or whatever it is representing. The question marks are rooms you have not yet opened or discovered. For example, if I open this room and then re-click on the minimap, you'll see, I've opened this room, and that's led to another room that I need to open. So if I go ahead and open this room, I will see that there is a door that I need the Crimson Pentagon key for. Now in Dungeoneering we will be required to find keys to go for a door. As I've just picked up the gold triangle key, I will need to find the gold triangle door to open. However, just because I've got the gold triangle key doesn't mean the gold triangle door is the next door I will need to open. There could be different types of doors in dungeons, and one of those type of doors is a guardian door. Now a guardian door basically means I have to kill all the creatures in the room in order to open the door. If I try to open the door beforehand, I will not be able to. And as we can see here, I have the gold triangle door, and since I have the key in my inventory, I will be able to open this door. But since this is also a guardian door, I might as well kill the monsters. However, if you're going through a room that is filled with monsters and only has a door, a skill door or a key door that you need to open, it is not necessary to kill the monsters unless you're in dire need of food or supplies that these monsters could drop for you. And now the monster is slain, I am able to open the guardian door and progress the minimap of Dungeoneering a little more. If I click the map, you will now see that I've unlocked a greater portion of the dungeon, and in this room there is another key on the floor. Now it is important not to miss keys, as they can be very detrimental to the dungeon and may render it impossible to complete until you find the key. That is, oops, I do not have that key. So now since we don't have that key, I will be able to come back to this door using the group gatestone. Now as you can see, I have 125 lores in my inventory. At level 1 you are able to bind 125 pieces of ammunition, arrows, or 125 types of rune. It'll just be one type. For example, if I right click on these laws, you will see a B in brackets, which means bound. They are bound to me. I will start with 125 law runes for every floor. And as for these items, these are also bound, so I will start with these 3 items every floor. This is an empty room, aka a dead end, so I won't need to do anything here, and I don't need to kill the monster. I can carry on with the floor. Now, to show you to bind ammunition or runes, as you can see, I've picked up 67 Catagon arrows. If I click bind on these arrows, they will bind to me. However, first I would need to destroy the bound law runes, because I can't have 2 sets of runes or arrows bound. Right clicking on these arrows and clicking bound would bind these to me. I would have 67 arrows every time I start a floor. You can have up to 125 arrows or runes bound to you, so if I found, another 67 Catagon arrows, I will be able to bind some of those to mean I had 125 of them for every floor I start. The Dungeoneering Smuggler is available in this room, and he will sell basic supplies to complete the dungeon. Most of them you won't need, however on some floors you may need to buy some raw food or logs unless you can find them around the dungeon. An ideal item and a vital item to the Dungeoneering floor is a toolkit, which is available from him for 1,320 gold pieces. Now usually the items on this table will provide enough money if you sold them to him, or gold on the table, to buy one of these toolkits. As you can see, I have 6,000 gold left after selling those arrows, which is enough for nearly the entire team to get a toolkit. I can open the toolkit, and this has all the vital skilling supplies to open the skilling doors around the dungeon. And as you can see, this is a Crimson Pentagon door, so I can open this door without worrying about the monsters in the room. There are also skilling spots around the dungeon, meaning fishing, woodcutting, or mining spots. Usually these aren't really bothered with players, but more advanced dungeoneers will want to mine Prometheum to make summoning creatures or other things to help them with their floor. We are provided with puzzle rooms in the floor. For example, this is a levers room, so I'll have to complete all the levers before I can open the door within a certain amount of time, or I will be damaged. Since there are lots of puzzles in the dungeon, there is not enough time in this video to go through every type of puzzle and talk about completing it. However, in another issue of the Dungeoneering guides, in another video, I will spend an entire video talking about the different puzzles and the best way to complete them. Now here's a tip for you guys. Binding items is a vital part of being in Dungeoneering, and you'll need to have a weapon bound at all times, ideally. So when you first start Dungeoneering, you'll be put into a complexity 1 dungeon. You're going to floor 1, and it will be complexity 1 because this is part of the Dungeoneering tutorial. And when you go into this floor, you will notice in your inventory you're provided with different weaponry. Now as soon as you get into this complexity 1 floor, you want to bind a weapon to you, so you will bind the Catagon Battle Axe or the Catagon Rapier. Now out of these two, I would say the Catagon Rapier is more effective. However, lots of monsters in dungeons are very weak to crush, so I'm kind of skeptical as what to suggest. I would probably bind the Rapier myself until I found a more effective weapon. Since there's so much to talk about in Dungeoneering, I'm going to have to separate this into separate guides. The video you're watching now is Dungeoneering, the basics and introduction. So that means you will be able to separate them into effective different videos. I know this might be somewhat repetitive to those of you who are already experienced Dungeoneering and already know everything about it, but I want to help everyone, so I need to start from the bottom, the lower levels, and work my way up till I'm in a more advanced section of guides, so eventually we'll have the Dungeoneering Advanced Maximizing XP. So stay tuned, and here, as you see on screen, is a list of the different Dungeoneering videos that will be coming out and will basically combine into one Uber Dungeoneering guide. I hope you guys look forward to these guides, and I hope they're useful to you, and I hope you enjoy them. So yes guys, this was your introduction into Dungeoneering. The next guide will be as you've seen, so stay tuned and make sure to like this video and comment honestly. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed if you liked this video, and thanks for watching guys. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope it was useful for you. I look forward to the rest of the guides, look forward to my money making guide, and look forward to Geo's ramblings, Geo's retrospect and Geo's shenanigans.